The galaxy had been at relative peace for centuries, but it was clear to anyone paying attention that this peace was fragile. Earth, once considered a backwater planet by the larger interstellar community, had quietly built itself into a formidable power. Its representatives on the Galactic Council were known for advocating diplomacy and balance, always urging restraint in matters of conflict. Despite their technological advancements, humanity remained humble, valuing cooperation over conquest. But the Draleke didn't see things that way. An ancient species with a vast empire spanning countless systems, the Draleke were prideful and aggressive. Their rule was one of force and fear, and they had little patience for Earth's talks of peace. To them, humanity was nothing more than an upstart species, barely worthy of notice, let alone respect. They had heard rumors of Earth's military capabilities, of course, but they dismissed them. In their eyes, no human technology could rival their centuries of dominance. It was only a matter of time before they put the humans back in their place. The decision to act came after a series of skirmishes on the galactic border, where the Draleke sought to expand into neutral territories. Earth had intervened, calling for peace and offering to mediate between the Draleke and other galactic powers. But the Draleke saw this as meddling. To them, Earth had overstepped its bounds, and a lesson needed to be taught. The Draleke Emperor Zeral was particularly incensed, his disdain for humanity growing with each diplomatic communication Earth sent. And so, Zeral ordered the mobilization of the fleet. Thousands of warships, each one a testament to the Draleke Empire's dominance, were prepared to descend upon Earth. The plan was simple: crush the humans swiftly, make an example of them, and move on. The Draleke viewed this as a minor campaign, hardly worth the attention of the larger galactic community. But as they prepared their assault, Earth issued one final transmission. "This is your final warning." The voice of Earth's ambassador echoed across the stars. "Do not attack. We do not seek war, but we will defend ourselves." The Draleke response was swift and dismissive. Zeral himself ordered the reply. "Your kind should know when you are outmatched. Surrender, or face the consequences." Earth did not respond. Their silence only fueled the Draleke arrogance, reinforcing the belief that humanity was afraid, that they would crumble under the weight of the Draleke fleet. The Draleke War Council convened, eager for the coming battle. Zeral was confident, certain that Earth would be wiped clean in mere hours. His generals assured him that the humans' defenses were weak, outdated compared to the mighty Draleke armada. Meanwhile, on Earth, preparations were quietly being made. In the depths of classified military bases, the Sentinel Division, a group known only to the highest-ranking officials, readied the Aegis defense system. The Aegis was not a weapon that humanity wanted to use. It was a last-resort defense, designed to protect Earth from threats far greater than the Draleke. But as the fleet drew closer, General Vega of the Sentinel Division knew it would likely be activated. General Vega stood in the war room, watching as reports of the Draleke fleet's movement came in. The sheer scale of the armada was staggering. Thousands of ships, each bristling with advanced weaponry, slowly making their way toward Earth. Vega's eyes flicked to the readouts of the Aegis system. It was ready. A single command, and it would be activated. But for now, it remained dormant, a silent reminder of humanity's restraint. Across the Galactic Council, other species watched with growing concern. The Draleke were a known threat, but many had hoped that Earth's reputation for diplomacy would defuse the situation. Some speculated that humanity would fold, that they would beg for mercy before the Draleke fleet arrived. Others, however, whispered of Earth's hidden power. There were rumors, vague, unverified reports, that Earth had developed technologies far beyond what they let on. Still, no one could know for sure. Not yet. As the Draleke fleet crossed into Earth's outer defenses, the tension reached its peak. Earth sent one last plea for peace, a message broadcast to the entire galaxy. "This is your final chance to stand down," it said. "We do not wish for bloodshed. Turn back now." The Draleke response was the same as before: laughter, mockery, and a final order from Zeral: "Destroy them." The Dralek fleet continued its advance, their weapons systems charging as they prepared for an overwhelming assault. To the rest of the galaxy, it seemed inevitable. Earth was about to fall. The Dralek would make an example of them, and peace, however fragile, would be shattered. But deep within the heart of Earth's defense network, a decision was being made. The time for diplomacy had passed. General Vega's hand hovered over the command to activate Aegis. He took one final breath, and then, with the resolve that had seen humanity through countless challenges, he gave the order. The Dralek fleet moved into Earth's orbit with the confidence of an empire that had never known defeat. Each ship in their vast armada, from the towering command vessels to the sleek fighters, was outfitted with weapons capable of obliterating entire cities. Their formation was flawless, their strategy sound. In their minds, Earth's defenses would crumble like all the worlds before it. This was not a battle, it was a display of dominance. Emperor Zeral watched from the bridge of his flagship, a cruel smile on his face. His generals stood beside him, eyes fixed on the incoming data streams. Earth's fleet had mobilized, but it was far smaller than they had expected. Zeral sneered. He had anticipated more resistance, but this would be over faster than even he had hoped. The humans had sent a few ships to meet his armada, but it was a pitiful attempt. Their weakness would soon be exposed. The Dralek ships continued their steady approach. Their weapons, already primed, hummed with energy. Within moments, they would fire their opening salvo. Zeral's voice boomed across the fleet. Prepare for bombardment. Let this be the day that Earth learns its place in the galaxy. His officers echoed the command, and across the fleet, Dralek crews prepared to unleash devastation. At that very moment, a final transmission from Earth cut through the void of space. Calm and steady, it was a voice filled not with fear, but with certainty. We gave you a chance, the message began. You have chosen war. Now you will face the consequences of that decision. Zeral chuckled at the arrogance of the human voice. It was the same tone Earth had used in its earlier pleas for peace, only now it seemed more hollow than ever. The fleet ignored the message, already certain of their impending victory. The first Dralek ship fired. A beam of energy shot through space, aimed directly at Earth's surface. It never reached its target. Before the Dralek could process what had happened, a pulse of light emanated from Earth's atmosphere. It was a faint shimmer at first, almost imperceptible, but it grew brighter, faster, until it consumed the sky above the planet. The energy radiated outward, and in the blink of an eye, the Dralek fleet found itself enveloped by an invisible force. Zeral's smile faltered as the readings from his ships began to fluctuate. Sensors malfunctioned, weapons systems flickered, and the Dralek commanders barked orders, trying to regain control. But it was too late. The Aegis system had been activated. The energy field expanded rapidly, sweeping across the fleet like a wave of silent destruction. One by one, the Dralek ships simply disappeared. There were no explosions, no fireballs. Just silence. Each ship was erased from existence, as though it had never been there at all. In mere seconds, hundreds of Dralek vessels were gone, reduced to nothing by the power of Earth's defense system. Zeral watched in stunned disbelief as his mighty fleet, the pride of the Dralek Empire, was wiped out before his very eyes. His ship, still floating in orbit, was one of the few remaining. But even he knew that it wouldn't last. The Aegis system wasn't targeting specific ships. It was erasing everything. Pull back! Zeral shouted, but his voice was drowned out by the chaos on the bridge. His generals scrambled, trying to make sense of the situation. But there was no escape. The Aegis field continued to expand, faster than any Dralek ship could flee. Within moments, Zeral's ship, the flagship of the Dralek Empire, was the last vessel standing. For a brief second, the Emperor considered surrender. But even he knew it was pointless. The humans had given their warning, and the Dralek had ignored it. Now they were paying the price. The final pulse of the Aegis system enveloped Zeral's ship. For a fleeting moment, the Emperor saw the vastness of space before him, devoid of his once mighty fleet. Then, there was nothing. Across the galaxy, those watching in real time were stunned into silence. The Draleke fleet, one of the most powerful forces in the universe, had been obliterated in seconds. Earth, the planet that had been mocked and underestimated, had shown its true strength. No one had expected this. No one could have imagined that humanity possessed such overwhelming power. On Earth, the Aegis system powered down, its purpose fulfilled. The skies cleared, and the planet remained untouched, as peaceful as ever. The Draleke threat had been neutralized, not with bombs or lasers, but with a technology far beyond the comprehension of even the most advanced alien civilizations. The galaxy was left in shock. The destruction of the Draleke fleet had been swift, efficient, and utterly final. The galaxy, still reeling from the suddenness of it all, couldn't process what had just happened. The transmission from Earth, that calm and unwavering voice that had warned of consequences, now echoed in the minds of every leader watching. What the Draleke had once dismissed as posturing had turned out to be something far more terrifying: truth. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council was utterly speechless. They had gathered in their great chamber, expecting to witness another tragic, but typical, imperial conquest. Instead, they had watched an entire fleet, one of the most feared armadas in existence, disappear into nothingness. The sheer finality of it struck fear deep into the hearts of the council members. What had Earth become? There was no wreckage, no aftermath of smoldering ships or the usual chaotic debris that accompanied space battles. The Draleke fleet, thousands of ships strong, had simply ceased to exist. The Aegis system had done its work without fanfare, without the need for excessive force or violence. It had eliminated the threat as cleanly as a knife slicing through air. Back on Earth, there was no celebration, no chest-thumping victory proclamations. Humanity had never wanted this confrontation, and the use of the Aegis system had been a last resort. The leaders who had authorized its activation now stood in silence, staring at the aftermath of their decision. They had saved their world, yes, but the cost of revealing such a powerful defense mechanism weighed heavily on their minds. Earth had always been careful to hide its true capabilities, maintaining a position of diplomacy and restraint. But now, there was no turning back. General Vega, the man who had overseen the activation of Aegis, knew the ramifications better than anyone. He stood alone in the operations center, staring at the now quiet defense grid. The destruction of the Draleke fleet had been necessary. There was no question about that. But what would come next? He knew the galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. They had crossed the line, shown their hand in a way that could not be undone. The Draleke Empire, once a looming menace over dozens of worlds, was now crippled. Without their fleet, their power would surely collapse. But the ripple effects of Earth's actions would spread far beyond the Draleke territories. Other empires, ones that had once seen humanity as a mere annoyance, would now view them with caution, if not outright fear. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted in an instant, and Earth was now at the center of it. There were immediate concerns about retaliation, of course. Would other empires, fearing Earth's new prominence, seek to band together and strike before the humans grew even stronger? Or would they be too frightened to act, afraid of suffering the same fate as the Draleke? For now, no one knew. The galaxy was still too stunned to react. But the whispers had already started. In the council chambers, the alien representatives whispered among themselves, glancing nervously at the empty seats that once belonged to the Draleke. They had mocked Earth's peaceful overtures, but now those words carried a different weight. No one wanted to be the next to provoke humanity. Quietly, alliances were reconsidered, treaties were reevaluated, and a new strategy for dealing with Earth was quickly forming in the minds of every major galactic leader. The humans, for their part, did nothing. There were no demands, no ultimatums, no attempts to seize territory or capitalize on their newfound power. They had defended themselves, nothing more. But in the silence that followed the destruction of the Draleke fleet, that absence of action spoke volumes. Earth didn't need to conquer or expand. Their message was simple: do not attack us, or you will cease to exist. And now, everyone in the galaxy knew it wasn't a bluff. Back on Earth, civilian life continued as it always had. Most of the population was unaware of just how close their world had come to annihilation, and perhaps it was better that way. The leaders, though, could not afford to be so unaware. They knew that the galaxy would be watching them closely now, waiting for any sign of aggression or weakness. The question was no longer whether Earth could defend itself. It was how they would navigate the fragile political landscape that had suddenly shifted in their favor. In the days following the destruction, Earth sent a single communication to the Galactic Council. It was short, direct, and without bravado. "We will not seek retribution. Let peace remain." There was no response, at least not publicly. But privately, the message was heard loud and clear. The Draleke, in their arrogance, had learned too late what humanity had become. Now, the rest of the galaxy stood at a crossroads. Would they follow the same path, or would they learn from the Draleke's mistake? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain: Earth was no longer a world to be underestimated. The peace they had fought so hard to preserve had come at a cost, but it was a cost they had been willing to pay. As the galaxy reeled from the shock of the Draleke's erasure, one thought echoed in the minds of every leader, every soldier, and every citizen who had witnessed the event: what else might humanity be capable of? The galaxy, still reeling from the loss of the Draleke fleet, faced a new reality. Earth, once considered a minor player, was now the focal point of every political and military discussion across star systems. Fear and respect spread like wildfire, as species that had once viewed humans as insignificant began reassessing their strategies. The sheer scale of Earth's defensive capabilities had forced every empire, every coalition, to reconsider their next steps carefully. Leaders of the remaining galactic powers convened behind closed doors, each discussing what Earth's emergence as a superpower meant for the future. Speculation was rampant. Some believed Earth might take advantage of the situation, using their newfound fear factor to push for dominance. Others, those who had paid closer attention to humanity's diplomatic history, suspected Earth would maintain their stance as protectors of peace, wielding their strength only in defense. But what unnerved the galaxy most wasn't Earth's destruction of the Draleke fleet. It was the way they had done it, without rage, without excessive force, without any desire for vengeance. They had not sought glory in war. They had given their warning and acted only when pushed to the brink. The absence of aggression, combined with their overwhelming power, left a haunting question: what else might they be capable of? In the Draleke territories, chaos erupted. The once proud empire was now leaderless, its vast military shattered. Their colonies, once protected by the imposing shadow of the fleet, now found themselves vulnerable. Opportunistic factions within the Draleke ranks began vying for control, but without their fleet, the power vacuum was undeniable. Neighboring systems, long oppressed by Draleke dominance, prepared to reclaim their independence. Earth, however, did not intervene. The destruction of the fleet was enough. Humanity had no interest in exploiting the crumbling empire, further solidifying their stance as defenders rather than conquerors. The Galactic Council, now operating in a state of uncertainty, received Earth's message. Simple and to the point, it mirrored the tone they had taken since the beginning. "We desire only peace. Let this be the last conflict." But there was no mistaking the unspoken implication. Earth had revealed their strength, and now it was up to the galaxy to decide how to proceed. Rumors began circulating, of course. Whispers about the true extent of Earth's technology spread through the corridors of power. Some believed the Aegis system was only a fraction of what humans had developed, while others speculated that Earth had simply mastered the art of psychological warfare, using a single, devastating blow to keep the galaxy in check without ever needing to show their full hand. The truth, however, was known only to a few. On Earth, life returned to its usual rhythm. The population, largely unaware of the true scale of the threat they had just faced, continued with their daily lives, while the government and military worked quietly in the background, ensuring that their defenses remained intact. The leaders of Earth knew that while the Draleke had been dealt with, the galaxy was now a different place. The next conflict might not come from arrogance or ignorance but from fear. General Vega, having overseen the activation of the Aegis system, had no illusions about what came next. Earth had bought itself time, but with it came increased scrutiny. He knew that other galactic powers would be watching, waiting to see if Earth would make the next move. But the general also understood the strength of restraint. The true power of the Aegis wasn't just in its ability to destroy but in the decision not to use it unnecessarily. The Dralake's fall had set off a chain reaction. Across the galaxy, empires and coalitions began reconsidering their relationships with one another, adjusting strategies to account for this new, unpredictable variable, humanity. Some sent emissaries, hoping to establish stronger ties with Earth, seeking alliances that might shield them from a similar fate. Others, more cautious, chose to remain distant, unsure of how to approach a species that had so decisively wiped out one of the galaxy's most powerful fleets in an instant. Despite all this, Earth remained silent, offering no demands or threats. Their silence was as powerful as any statement they could have made. The galaxy was left to interpret their inaction however they chose. And for many, that was the most frightening part of all. Earth did not need to speak. The destruction of the Dralake fleet had said everything. For the Dralake survivors, scattered across their former territories, the future was bleak. Their empire, once seemingly invincible, had collapsed almost overnight. Without the military backbone that had kept their subjugated worlds in check, rebellions sparked, and territories that had long chafed under Dralake rule seized their moment for freedom. The galaxy watched as the Dralake Empire splintered into factions, each struggling to reclaim power. But Earth's hand was nowhere to be seen. They had done what was necessary to protect themselves and left the remnants of the Dralake to their fate. In the aftermath, one thing became clear to every corner of the galaxy: Earth had shifted the balance of power. Their decision to act only when threatened showed a level of control that few empires had ever managed. In a universe where dominance was often asserted through aggression and expansion, Earth stood apart, a force that sought only peace, yet was capable of delivering unimaginable destruction when provoked. The question now lingering in the minds of every leader, every citizen of the galaxy, was whether peace would truly hold. Earth had made their stance clear, but fear is a powerful motivator. Would other empires act out of desperation, seeking to neutralize a threat they couldn't fully understand? Or would the galaxy heed Earth's warning, accepting that their old methods of power and conquest no longer applied? For now, the galaxy remained quiet, the dust of the Dralake fleet's destruction still settling. But the implications of Earth's victory would be felt for generations to come. The old rules no longer applied, and the galaxy was left to navigate this new reality where humanity, once overlooked and underestimated, had become the silent guardian of peace, or, if pushed, the architects of annihilation.